According to Jeff Powell of the Daily Mail, Conor Benn is actually under investigation over claims he failed a separate drug test earlier on this year for the same clomiphene substance that scuppered the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Now, interestingly, he quoted Frank Warren. This is actually the TalkSport version of the article, and they have this quote from Frank Warren that says, quote, "A few of us have known about this earlier test for some time. That makes it even more of a scandal, more damaging to our sport than everyone thought." Okay, that's what they attribute to Frank Warren on TalkSport. However, if you go to the actual original article on the Mail, it doesn't have that particular quote from Frank Warren. It says here that Frank Warren said, "It's no secret that a British fighter has failed a test, but lawyers are trying to prevent the WBC and the British Boxing Board of Control from releasing details." So that's what they attribute to Frank Warren. Now, I saw an interview with Frank Warren, I think it was on Seconds Out, and he was asked about the quote attributed to him, and he said it was a misquote and that he'd spoken to Jeff Powell. So perhaps this article has been edited since Frank Warren reached out to Jeff Powell and has removed the original quote, which still appears here in the TalkSport article. I don't know. What I do know is Frank Warren is very legally savvy. So if he said something, or if he's by one of the papers made to sound like he said something, or made to sound like he implied something, he's going to make the necessary phone calls and make sure that he's legally in the clear. Okay, because Frank Warren is very legally savvy. Anyway, so basically Warren does say that some British fighter has failed earlier on this year. And he mentioned the WBC there, if we just look at the quote again. It's no secret that a British fighter failed a test, but lawyers are trying to prevent the WBC, not VADA, the WBC. So that would suggest someone that's in the clean boxing program. So interesting stuff. And of course, if Conor Benn has tested positive earlier on this year, you know, in addition to the one he failed for the Eubank Jr. fight, that's especially damning. Not just for Conor Benn, but for Eddie Hearn, because presumably Hearn would have known about this if it's true. And again, why didn't the public, why didn't he tell the public about it? It seems as though if that's true, it would have been swept under the rug. I'd like to hear from Eddie Hearn, regarding this if it comes out. But at the moment, Eddie Hearn is being uncharacteristically coy with the press. So to give you an example, Eddie Hearn is by far and away, in my lifetime, the most accessible boxing promoter that I've ever seen. Certainly in the UK, and I have to imagine in the United States as well. Very, very accessible. And of course, he's a people person anyway, in the sense that he's very charismatic, he's a good talker and all that kind of thing. So I guess he finds it easy to interact with the public. Some other promoters just might not be as personable, they might not be as sociable, so they'll find that kind of thing more difficult. But either way, Eddie Hearn took advantage of the social media era. He understood it, he got it sooner than Frank Warren and what have you. And that's one of the things that led to his success, led to his rise, was him engaging with the public far more than traditional boxing promoters used to. But in any event, he is being coy with the press now. He's making himself a bit exclusive now. He's done the interview with Kugan Cassius. He hasn't been on any other major media as far as I'm aware. And if we look at DAZN's YouTube channel here, normally you see this in the comments, right? You see actual comments being written. And this is for the weekend preview, right? That's the weekend preview video with Darren Barker and Ade. But have a look at this. The video where Eddie Hearn is being asked about the Conor Benn situation with Akram Barak, who do not grill Eddie Hearn at all. They don't ask him any tough questions. That video has the comments turned off. That's right. Eddie Hearn is going down that route. He's even turning comments off because he doesn't want to answer certain questions and he doesn't want to be made to look in a certain light. And look, Eddie Hearn promotes fights all over the world. We know that. He's an international promoter. But it's kind of ironic that he's gone to Australia, right? to the other end of the world. It's almost like he's trying to run away from all the smoke, from all the heat that he's catching off this Conor Benn situation. And I say it's almost like that because I know that he has some kind of show out there or whatever. I'm not saying it actually is that. So let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. Eddie Hearn on the run, on the ropes, for sure. I think this is the most pressure he's been under in his professional career so far. I would say the next most difficult thing would probably be, in fact, no, not even then, because I was going to mention the Audley Harrison situation, but he didn't promote David Haye versus Audley Harrison. He was just Audley Harrison's representative. And of course, that was an awful fight. In fact, it wasn't even a fight at all. So the smoke and the pressure wasn't really on Eddie Hearn for that. It was more on David Haye and Audley Harrison. So yeah, this is probably the lowest point of his professional career in terms of public relations, public perception. Obviously, he's still bringing in a lot of money for at least some of his shows. I know DAZN overall are hemorrhaging money, but Eddie Hearn must still be making a profit in some shows. So things are all relative, okay? It's not like Eddie Hearn's some small hall promoter struggling to keep the lights on. No, he's obviously running a very, very big operation. But relative to where he was, let's say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he appears to be in a much weaker position now. And I think it would take an extraordinary level of cognitive dissonance to suggest otherwise. I know there have been some Eddie Hearn fanboys out there, fanboy channels, which is what they are, saying that, oh no, Eddie Hearn's doing great and this idea that he's on a downturn is ridiculous. Again, these people are delusional. They're suffering from cognitive dissonance, and there's no doubt that that doesn't just apply to their fanboying of Eddie Hearn. There's people that tend to suffer cognitive dissonance in all aspects of their lives. You know, if there's one thing I can't handle, it's people who have no ability to be objective. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Leave your comments below.